Welcome to Eileen's farewell, and thank you all for coming to this very, very special occasion this afternoon. We seem to be gathering with really far too much regularity at the moment in our school to say goodbye to lots of different friends and colleagues who are leaving us for all sorts of different reasons. But today we're here to say goodbye to Eileen, who's going to be retiring at the end of the month. It's quite frankly impossible to imagine the social work team without Eileen in it. And that's not just because of the length of time that Eileen has been here, but it's also because of the role she's played in the team, and quite simply because of who Eileen actually is. Eileen came to the university in 1981, and I had to stop and think to myself, what is the mathematics here, and work out just how long that's been, and that's 35.5 years ago. She started with what was then referred to as the academic office, if I'm not mistaken, now registry service or student administrative services. And she was there for 10 years, Eileen, if I'm not mistaken. Spent some time then in the careers service and then moved into social work, where she's been based for 23 years. Eileen has been a warm and welcoming face for hundreds, if not thousands, of our students who've come through our department. She's always been their first port of call, and quite honestly, students will remember Eileen long after they've forgotten all of us. And this is for all sorts of different reasons. Eileen never forgets any student's name. She knows exactly who they are. She would do her level best to help them regardless of the issue and the amount of time it actually takes. From the day of admissions and their first interview here, to their first day of registration with our programs, through to graduation with her camera, Eileen was always there. But she's been there for us as well as colleagues. She's without doubt one of the most generous, thoughtful and kind colleagues I've ever had the pleasure of working with. She's never missed a birthday. She keeps our sugar levels topped up with a continuous supply of sweets. And of course she's kept our programs running for all of those 23 years. Now in social work we've developed something of a musical tradition, and generally that tradition involves commissioning Liz Price to compose a song for our administrative colleagues who leave us. Now Eileen is no exception to that, and in thinking about this song and putting it together, we thought that perhaps the song would best encompass what it is that we were all feeling today and what we were all feeling about Eileen.
The song really has its genesis in a concert that Eileen, Liz and I went to a couple of years ago. Actually, it's quite a lot of years ago now. Where Ralph McTell was playing in Hull, and we didn't know at the time just quite the relationship that Eileen and Ralphie had. I think she's probably his greatest fan. So today, Eileen, I did email him and ask him to come, but I think he's a bit busy on tour and stuff, you know. So this is first a tribute to Ralph, but most of all, this is a tribute to you, Eileen. I hope you're not too offended. No, it's okay. Have you seen Eileen behind a pile of papers, looking for some minutes from 1984? In her eyes there's a sense of panic. Well, if you ask me, she seems quite manic. Yesterday's board papers telling yesterday's news. So how can you tell us you're leaving and say to us that you just can't stay? Let us take you by the hand and lead you round the other campus. You might see something that'll make you change your mind. Well, have you seen Eileen? She's frightening the students. She's saying something dodgy, and she's causing quite a stir. The is late, but she's got cake, though careful now, because the sell-by date states it should be eaten at least 2 months before. So how can you tell us you're leaving and say to us that you just can't stay? Oh, let us take you by the hand and lead you round the other campus. You might see something that'll make you change your mind. So I promise it's the last verse. It's nicer. Have you seen Eileen? Well, she's been here a millennium. How we'll cope when she leaves? Oh, we don't really know. We may be angry and we may be sad, though frankly Eileen is quite mad. But we wish she wasn't going, and we might beg her to stay. So how can you tell us that you're leaving and say to us that you just can't stay? Let us take you by the hand and lead you round the other campus. We might see something that'll make you change your mind.
Thank you very much, everybody. I'm a bit nervous, as you can imagine. Thanks, Nigel. Thank you all for coming and making an effort to see me, because I'm really quite surprised at this. Thanks to Liz Walker for accepting the budget on the hospitality. We did have a few problems, but I managed to, hope you managed to receive a drink and a piece of cake. When I first came to the University of Hull on the 12th of January 1981, I was greeted by colleagues of the academic office, now known as Registry Services, which included Maureen Playfoot, Leslie Bilton, Cathy Ollivant, Chris Kerman, Jenny Rumble, Jackie Cudliffe, Debbie O'Neill, Angie Broadhead, Richard Craven Green. My working partner was Maureen Playfoot. My job was spent in the next cleaner's cupboard, 5 foot by 8 foot approximately, full of exam papers, working under Wendy Bray, Maureen Leithley, and finally Dr. Rick Halliwell, known fondly as the Doc. Maureen and I became very au fait with the dealings of cleaning and picking up personal items from students in the early days and good old blotting paper on each exam desk. You remember that, Maureen? Then Chris Kerman joined me, along with Anne Penkethman, and she and I made the exam section more light-hearted as we had a new boss, Derek Atwood, and the many escapades of celebrating Christmas and birthdays. Maureen and Chris finally moved on to pastures new, and I was joined by Jenny Rumble, Diana Castledine and Ken Hogarth, my new boss. I formed great friendships with these girls, and they probably put me through the grounding and support I needed. Hopefully we shall continue when I leave. Finally I moved out of the cupboard, hooray. In 1992 I did spend a short time in careers with the late John Franks, who I now sadly miss, and Pat Broderick. In March 1993 I joined the Department of Social Policy and Professional Studies and worked as the Social Work Secretary. I then worked alongside Lynn Reeves, and then after 3 months she left the department under the management of Joan Wilson, which I really admired. Peter Burke became my boss and gave me support when I was working on the bench in those early years. I then met all the other secretaries where we shared our half-hour tea break, including Pat Wilkinson and Gina Cunningham, whom I still see for lunch now and again. In 1995, I then met a shy young man who has managed to survive these past 20 years with my tantrums, anxieties, friendship, and being my technical support as well as my professional husband and confidant. Thanks, Dennis. Even though he looks exhausted and tired and stressed, I will always take only 30% of the blame. 30% home life and 40% is work. I'd like to thank the departmental staff. I've made some really good friends as well, and some of the staff being ex-students, Dave Marsland, Liz Price, Karen Cooper. When I've gone through times of trouble, people have been so supportive. I've also to give thanks to the various departments finance, print room, registry services, including Sue Brandt, Derek Ord, Heidi Broadhead, accommodation, Steve Cann, Kevin Close and Darrell. This past year has been a blast working with another ex-graduate, Luke, being in the same office, and Claire and Lynn. I've enjoyed working the social work admissions side. Thanks to Di, Key, Gemma and Sheila for putting up with my constant out-of-date food.
And the rest of us.
I've also developed a new category of working colleagues, which is Laurie, John, Sheila, Carl, Dave and Anne. Thank you. I will miss you all, but life begins with another new man in my life. So times are changing. Thank you all, and I hope to see you soon, although I'm off to Texas in August. Is any more drinks or food?
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Eileen?
John.